Good morning, everybody. Today's video subject would be: are you using the system, or is the system using you? We've encountered several different changes within both the economic system and as well as, your local neighborhoods, your shopping districts, your hospitals, especially the government, because the government is practically in the center of all of it. But the people pulling the strings are going to be the ones behind the scenes that you will never see their faces. I think the only honest thing I've ever heard is when it came to Trump. The one thing I can definitely say without 100% of a doubt, it was one thing that he said, but I don't know whether they are after him or not. And it was the fact that there are people out there who are in control of this stuff, and they have a lot of money, a lot, so much that you wouldn't even know what to do with it. And rarely anybody knows who these people are. That's true. But there are connections. There are definitely connections with certain people, but the thing is, the people who will most likely have these connections won't be the ones that are primarily in the spotlight. There may be some out there who actually have somewhat of an idea of who they may be, but I don't think that they would ever go as far as even knowing who they are. I don't believe the president knows. I don't believe the secretaries in Congress knows. I believe there are people in positions, lower positions, as as basically as a disguise to hide their true identity, what they're really capable of, so that they can basically either act as watchdogs, or basically people to just monitor, or basically monitoring agents that they have in the system to make sure that the puppeteers do what they want them to do. And if they don't, well, there's always repercussions for that. We've seen several situations like this where when people didn't want to basically contribute to domestic terrorism, and people who fight against it, what happens? Clearly obvious stuff starts to change. The demeanor of the people around them start to change. The demeanor of the society completely changes, and it depends on the magnitude of the situation as well as the topic of which they are basically involved with. Take in accordance with most target individuals in the subject, even people get involved with this, finding out all of this that's going on. People like that tend to become, you know, targeted them, potential targets themselves by the government. We need the internet to basically in order to have communication, but at the same time, it's the internet that they're using against us for these weaponized systems through your ISP provider. When it comes to the system, you need money to survive in times like this. But at the same time, it's only because we've lost. So many people have lost the traditional skills, were utilized and used to actually live off the land, and they use the fact of your dependency on the system against you. They want you to be dependent on the system, but if you develop an independent strategy on basically basically living on your own terms and with your own efforts and the work that you put into your survival, then there's not a whole lot they can do. But you see, they still reveal their hand. They can't. It's just like dealing with a narcissist type of individual. That in when it comes to a narcissist, the behavior is very versatile. It's very all over the place. Basically, they tend to blame people for things that they have absolutely nothing to do with, just because they just want to do it. They're comfortable with basically tormenting and torturing people, both verbally. I don't know if it's ever been physically. I don't think that's ever happened. But the only time that would ever have the possibility of happening is when you piss a narcissist off. And the thing is, most people would think like, well, arguing with a narcissist would be the way to piss them off. You'd be mistaken. No. In fact, if anything, that's what they would want. They love to argue. They love to have that type of conflict because it's the only way they can even feel anything. Their whole emotion system is completely it's completely nothing more than a black hole. They can't feel anything. So they basically siphon emotions from the people around them to basically try to have some sustainability because, well, they just They just lack empathy. They lack all of that. I don't know why there are people out there that are like this. I have no idea. But God knows everything. But like, He can give us the guidance, but it's up to us to basically find both the solutions and the things that actually exist out there, and the ways to basically counteract all of this stuff. So basically, we're dealing with people who are narcissistic in hidden positions of the government, and are basically, their identities are basically labeled and concealed with, a less obvious position. It could be someone who is in a helper position in the government, but in reality, they're pulling strings that oversights the actions of the president himself, basically. And the thing is that these politicians that you see, they're nothing more than puppeteers. Well, not puppeteers, but they're nothing more than puppets pulled by strings. All of them, the secretaries, the Supreme Courts, all just about every single court system. There are people within these systems that have taken an oath to this satanic order that has been causing this destruction amongst all of us. And when you actually start to realize this, you start to come to the conclusion that you can't trust dealing with this stuff. If you have gone through it as far as I have, as well as many others have, you come to the realization you cannot trust the police, you cannot trust the FBI, you cannot trust the government. And it was supposed to be them who were supposed to help you, but this stuff got twisted up into favoritism. Favoritism is should never be something should ever be welcome in a workplace, because when you invite something like that into a workplace, you lose you lose that professionalism, and that fact of basically giving respect in order to receive respect. You lose all of that stuff out of the equation. In regards of that, now, over the years, people have become dependent on the system for many different reasons, and some people have even abused it just because they could. And for all we know, they were probably told to abuse it or paid off to abuse it. You've got some people out there who had multiple kids. I'm talking about up to around 10 to 9 to 8, and they still kept doing it. And I just couldn't understand, can you please? It's not all women, but there are some out there who are like this. And for instance, there was one female who basically kept appearing on the Maury show over 9 times. Every single baby daddy she brought up to the show was not the kid's father. Now, this has become a growing problem because, well, when you don't have, not only is basically bringing a whole bunch of fatherless children into the world is a bad idea, the fact of the matter is both parents are a key component into that child's growth. You need both the father as much as you need the mother. The father's there basically to both give love and discipline and guidance, and so is the mother. When one has to go out and work to basically earn a living for the families to be able to survive, one of the family members is supposed to remain behind to watch over the young. That's how it was supposed to be, way back when. That's just how things were, because in the end, it wasn't about me. It wasn't about you. It was basically about the benefit of the whole family as a whole. It wasn't just about the kids. It was about the whole family. Everybody had their task of what to do. If you were a kid at the time, you would have chores to do. That's just how it was. Everybody did their particular part in their key for survival. And eventually we passed on that torch to the next generation. What has happened over the years is the fact that people at some point the government was allowed to step in to basically make judgment calls on family and in many different aspects of situations. And as a result, now don't get me wrong, there were incidences to where the domestic violence does exist, but the thing is it's not it was never a common thing like people think it is. It didn't start becoming more increasingly apparent until we started seeing these chemtrails out there. This also has something to do with crime as well. But we're no longer dealing with just petty and organized just petty crime. We're dealing with organized crime too, and it's organized crime perpetuated by the police. Not every single police officer is involved, but there's probably, if you're working in a position like that, you're most likely going to be aware of these things happening. Um, there were actually police officers who became, who basically quit their jobs and turned whistleblower as a result. Same thing even with the government, same thing even with the medical industry. They basically do what they can to basically expose the corruption that exists in this world, to basically try to help as many people as possible so that this madness will end. The basically, for people who don't understand what I'm getting at, basically the police, they conspire with criminals and they basically come up with deals in order for them to have an excuse to keep a job. And not only, they also make some under the table money too. So not only are they making money from their job, from the taxpayers' money, but they're also making money from, underhanded deals with people who are basically perpetuating crimes out in the middle of the nation. This isn't just the US, this is every country. The government is no different, and they have been very notorious with these things as far as it's concerned. FBI has been known to be having their hands in underhanded deals for quite some time. I mean, there was an aircraft carrier they had a while back, and you can look this up for yourself. The aircraft, unfortunately, something got dropped. People, this shit had to have been deliberately. What got dropped was basically a container filled with cocaine. This was coming from another country, not the US. So why the hell would they be shipping drugs from another country at all? Like, that should be handled by the authorities of that country, right? Wouldn't that make sense? The World Health Organization is no better. Many of these different factions, these people who basically been pushing many of these pharmaceutical drugs on people, many of these different things as far as especially vaccinations. The fact, and I mentioned this before, but the fact that people were suing them and they did, because of the effects of what this stuff was doing to their health, and they didn't want to get sued, but they still wanted people taking their crap. Um, I don't. Does nobody see a problem with that? Because I do. And when you think about that, like, where the hell did anybody ever get an idea? Like, what happened to that? What happened to that? Where did people get the idea thinking that it would be okay? Like, let's just let them go ahead and do what they're gonna do, and that's just it. No, no. The situation with the government is, well, they pay for a lot of orchestrated events for selfish gain. I've worked in a food pantry once a while back, and I witnessed. I'm not gonna say where this was, but I witnessed the mayor, the dude who was basically getting ready to lose his position, and he had to rerun for it. This guy shows up in the middle of Thanksgiving at a food pantry, and he actually has this freaking photographer take a picture of him as if, loading up like as if he was actually loading up bags. And I'm like, this guy cannot be serious. This is the joke running for mayor's office? Oh, there's got to be more people like this. There has to be. If I'm seeing one, like, there's just no doubt about it. So guess what? He didn't stay there making bags. He just made sure his photographer took that photograph and then he just left. He left. And these are the individuals we are dealing with in these positions. They are lazy as hell. They want other people to do the dirt, to do their dirty work, and they just want to have the good image, and that's it. This stuff has gone so far that it's developed into technology too. This nanotech that they're spraying on everybody has the ability to basically be controlled via computer. If you are laced with nano and someone basically hacks the computer that is attached to that nano, right? That's no different than hacking into a human being. You can basically get this person or use, this is where it comes into, you can't just get somebody to just do anything you want with this stuff. No. This requires a large amounts of deception tactics and a lot of street theater that goes on. This involves color harassment, verbal harassment, you name it. All of these tactics that are utilized in order to create and perpetuate and basically generate trauma. This trauma is what's utilized for basically mind manipulation. Now, when it comes to these people who are this damn corruptive, they're utilizing this technology in this way to get people to do things that they would not normally do. And as a result of that, they basically project that out onto the unsuspecting public, saying, you see this, you see this, you see this, to keep the mind manipulation going forward. They don't realize that they are assisting and harming an actual victim of this technology. And the only thing is that these bastards who are responsible for this wanting to keep happening is because they're making money from it. They're making billions of dollars from it. They're not going to tell these people that they're experimenting on kids. They're not going to tell these people they've been experimenting on people, on the elderly, even their own, possibly even their own damn parents. Because you got to remember, everybody is breathing this stuff in. Everybody is. Every day they are spraying this stuff in the air. So not only was this experimentation on people, you got to think about it. This is experimentation on somebody who wasn't even born yet. I mean, looking at how corrupted the medical industry is, how do we not know that the babies are safe in the hospitals? Now understand, they do have a nursery room for newborns. They do. And it would make you wonder what's going on in that room when the parents aren't around. They tried to stunt with my aunt a while back, but she didn't know. It wasn't until they started using these weapons on her that she actually started to understand what was going on. And it's been like that with certain other people. As I was doing my research, the people who were originally targeting me, their whole demeanor completely did a complete 360. It's just changed. It's as if like now they were in, now where they were in the hot zone, that where now they know what this is, and they're actually regretting even getting involved. That's the situation for like every single target individual who deals with people in general. Now, they also utilize the unsuspecting public as a tool to try to convince people that you're mentally ill, that you're crazy or anything like that. They'll utilize it as a weaponized system like that. Again, people who have not experienced this do not know how serious this situation is. They do not know. Because, that's the whole point. It's meant to seem as unbelievable as possible so that whenever you try to give your testimony about this, no one will believe you, and they would basically send their paid off trolls to basically discredit you. That's what they will do. They hone in on the things that people hate the most, and they exploit those things in order to manipulate them to basically do their bidding. This has been a common thing that's been happening for years. But that, you see, as a result, there are people who are, some of these other people who are not informed, who don't know what's really going on. They are just doing it for the money. We have people like that. And that's where it comes to basically people being used by the system. It ain't them using the system. It's the system using them. And it isn't just these perpetrators that are as a direct result of this. There are families who have been dependent on the system. There are individuals who have been, both men and women who have been dependent on the system. And as a result, they basically utilized that dependency against that person, whoever you are. And you see, this is the thing. They couldn't do shit like this way back when, because people were not dependent on the system. They would send their sleazy businessmen and businesswomen in the environment in any area to basically try to get people to sign contracts related to either product or non-product. They would do this, and the one thing that was always showed in some of these cartoons, you can find cartoons about these contracts too, and it mentions now, like people signing away their own children and their children's children. And it's like, how the hell does a person have the right to even do that? That's someone who's not even consciously alive yet. How the hell does a contract like that even exist? And it makes me wonder, when you go back, like, did people really sign contracts like that? And then as a result, a lot of us are paying for it because of it, because it's a perpetuating system that goes on and on and on. Since like you would basically can view as a person's child as an accessory to either the father or the mother. So whoever that contract was basically originally signed on, that particular family line is entirely targeted by the system. Let me tell you something. Adrenochrome is a big fucking problem. It is. People who don't know what the same system that causes these things to happen, adrenochrome's involved with this, and they are the ones who developed it. The same people who are coming up with these excuses for this stuff to go on. And for the people who are not aware, look, I'm telling you, don't ever work for these people, because first off, if they're handing you money to do what you're doing, you don't know if that money is laced. If they're handing you anything, if they're shaking your hand, if they're dealing with you, you don't know whether their hands are laced. You don't know any of this. They could be trying to poison you and put you on the system as well as everybody else. This is why there are people who have went underground. This is why there are people who basically went completely anonymous. I'm pretty certain I've got some subscribers on my channels who are targeted individuals or who are hiding, from the government. And as a result, they don't, as well as there are possibly perpetrators who also do the same thing. I'm fairly well certain of that. I also needed to give an apology about that because I made the assumption on one of my other channels that, everybody who basically hides like that was a perpetrator. But the thing is, I don't know that. So I wanted to correct that. Now that that's out of the way, let's move on. But this is the thing though, dude. Like this, again, this stuff that is being found in these chemtrails, this is why they will always fight this, because they don't want people finding out that those are actual chem dumps and not contrails. They don't want people finding out about that because, again, I'll repeat the process once more. Nanotech is technically controlled by both via frequency and by a computerized system. It is. If a person can hack into a computer, a person can hack into nanotech. Now, what do you think they would do if that nanotech is inside a person's body? Where it can reach their brain, where it can reach their heart, where it can get to their lungs, their digestive tract, their legs, all of these other different parts of the body. All the vital parts too. People, they could kill somebody with this stuff and nobody would know what the hell happened because of how blind people are. Because how much they don't want to freaking wake the hell up. That's how bad this is. People are stuck in the mindset of a 21st century, believing that things are as simple as they are. No, you have been deceived. You have been tricked. They pay people off to keep you in the dark with everything that's been going on. Stuff has advanced way more than you know. The only difference is they just have not released it. Now, some people didn't believe cloaking didn't exist. It does. It's possible. Or do you mean to tell me that a cell phone that basically has the ability to view something that's behind it and project it on the screen, you mean to tell me that's not cloaking? So what happens if even the edges are part of the screen too? Meaning like the whole part of the phone, like you can't even see the camera lens at all. You can't even see the any of the actual frame of the phone at all. Like the whole thing is just screened from the front and screened from the back, along with the sides. And whenever you click on camera, boom, you see what's behind it. And the same thing applies to the back of the phone too. Whatever the front of the phone sees, it projects towards the back. There. I just basically explained cloaking technology for you. It's utilized from cameras from both front to back. Now, this nanotech is so advanced that it has the ability to cloak drones. This is why they'll have these things in the sky, even in the daytime, but they'll have them hidden amongst the clouds. This stuff is constantly in the air, and they have to keep spraying it to hide this stuff. These things could be in plain sight, and you wouldn't even know unless you know exactly what to look for. But that's the biggest problem, though. They'll basically give people a little bit of bait, a little bit of information to basically go for their crap, and they'll run like hell with it. They'll believe anything they're being told without questioning it. They'll immediately, and you see, that's just it. They want to find what basically pisses you off the most because they know you will take it and run with it. They know you will do that. They know you won't question the situation. They know you won't question their motives. They know you won't basically question all of what they do. They know this. And that's why they play people like that for a fool. And that's why so many lives have been lost from this program, man. It isn't just from this program, it's from all this corruption that exists entirely. There have been corrupted police officers who are basically covered up deaths of many innocent people. There have people who took the fall for somebody who was crooked as hell, and they themselves, the person who basically was the victim was innocent. There have been situations just because of this crap, just because people are so pent up with greed. People, they will do anything to keep getting this data from us, okay? When it comes, and it isn't about your money. It's not about your materialistic stuff. You could practically go off grid and they will still come at you with this bullshit. They will. It's not about the materialistic stuff. It's not about the money. It's about the freaking it's all about the data that they get from you by experimenting unethically with your body. People don't know this, but this has been something that's been happening to me since I was a child. There's still a video that I go into some great details of some things I didn't mention before. But this is in relates to situations while I was with my mother and while I was away. And by me basically, basically reviewing a lot of the stuff that happened in the past, I'm able to basically make different connections as to how everything, you know, happened the way it did. Chances are my mother could have been the one who signed me into this. Possibly not. But honestly, I think it goes even deeper than that. I think it goes way deeper than that. And that's just the horrible truth about this. A person, a parent, or even someone else could sign someone into this program. It don't even have to be the parent. It could be anybody a part of the family. They could sign someone into this program. This person's going through this even since childhood. Okay, they're being ethically experimented on. They are being drugged. They're being just going through all of these scenarios, being bullied, harassed, gaslighted, you name it, all of this stuff that's happening. And they're going, imagine someone going through this since childhood all the way into their adulthood. Now, how unfair is that? And as a result to all of this manipulation that's being done because of all of this crap that's going on and people being lied to, manipulated, and and the thing is they wouldn't know. They would not know because they don't know what to look for and they don't know the right questions to ask and they don't know, the right things to point out. There's no way they could know. So as a result, basically they paint a picture that people buys right into thinking that, exactly what believing that what they see is legit. They'll go with it. And then they don't realize that they just been duped. Congratulations. You've basically just been tricked into buying it into a system and believing their crap in order for them to get away with the crimes that they've been committing for years. They have been killing people in the dozens for years. People have died as a result from this. There are people who have committed suicide because of this mess. There are people who have even been killed as a result from these weapons, from this mind manipulation. And the thing is, these people hide, who are responsible for this, they hide. They hide behind the scenes. They hide in your network. They hide even in plain sight. And they pay the people off within your area to do these things. They pay them off to wear these colors. They pay them off to use the verbal harassment. They pay them off to do these different types of actions. The money is coming from either another resident in the area, or it's coming from an outside resident, or it's coming from a police officer, or it's coming from an FBI agent, or it's coming from some type of government official, or it's coming from another family member. And that person is the bridge of income for these perpetrated acts that basically continue coming forward. This is the direct result of someone's harassment, someone's basically verbal harassment, the color harassment, and all this stuff that goes on. People, the trauma that comes from this is the direct result as to why this mind manipulation is causing people to do the things that they do. They utilize this crap on people in order to basically get them to do things they don't want to do. If a person just so happens to start creating shielding enough to basically break themselves free from this mess, you best believe they're going to get even more desperate to try to get that person programmed. So let me ask you this for the people who are not going through this. Does it make sense to work for a fucked up organization that programs people, that deceives you, and tries to poison you along the way if you find out too much information, and it's also still poisoning your skies, including your food? People, they poison your mom, your dad, everybody, even your kids with their bullshit. Who do you think the real enemy is? The World Health Organization allows them to slip this crap in the food, in the water, in all these beverages, and they don't label a damn thing. They're saying no, you don't need labels. But then when you go to a foreign country, you see all of this poisons in these foods that most likely either your kids or anybody who basically loves candy, any of this crap was eating, and you didn't know. You didn't know until someone finally told you what it was. Long story short, the government, the FBI, the police, they don't give a damn about any citizen, okay? Some of these order followers don't give a shit about any of us. They don't care. They just want to receive a paycheck, even if it means bribing people off, even if it means lying to people, not telling them the full truth. That's what they do. It's nothing new from what it's already been. It's just been the same damn thing. And let me tell you something. People who are not aware, do not work for workers of iniquity. Don't do it. Because that's the biggest mistake you could ever make. The biggest one. It's one thing not being ill informed, but once you do know, you have a choice to make. They say it in the Bible, the workers of iniquity are the most wicked ones of all. They're deceptive, manipulative, they lie, they try to basically act in kind, but in reality, it's all mischief, it's all blood, it's all hate, it's all destruction. All of it is. They disguise these tactics with words that basically people would be more acceptable towards, meaning they try to hide the true intentions in their true nature. And what happens as a result of this? A person either ends up committing suicide, a person either does that, or they find themselves in a position to where, well, I mean, what can I say? They find themselves in a position to where they're most likely set up in some kind of way, or this stuff, no matter how you look at it, this whole thing is rigged from the start. The whole thing is. No matter where, it don't matter what part of the city you at, what part of the world you in, the whole damn thing is rigged. This is why I gave the recommendation for, I'm only recommending it. No one has to do this. But it was to get out of the city because, like, with the situation that's going on with the lockdown, you don't want to be locked up in the city with these damn hyenas. With these damn bottom feeders. You don't need that, because I'm telling you, that's probably the most stressful thing you could possibly go through. Not to mention going through this crap on the daily. And to make this thing more simpler, did any of us ever ask for this crap in the skies? No. We did not consent to it. No one did. And this considering the fact that this is, and I'm telling you, there's people who done test with this shit, the same stuff that they're dumping in the skies. This stuff has the ability to reassemble itself. It does. This is the crap that people are breathing in. It has that capability, so why in the hell would they be putting something out in the sky that has the ability to do this? Why? Because it should be quite obvious. Yeah, you best believe they're going to have every single person in their pocket to try to basically deceive the public, to lie to them, to get them to just believe their bullshit. Whatever the action they try to get a person to do with these frequencies, they will utilize that particular action against them if they ever try to go to court to seek justice. That's the case for a lot of TIs, no matter who you are. And it's fucked up. You having your mind both read and your mind manipulated, and basically your body being manipulated and doing things you wouldn't normally do. You want to seek help, you want to find justice for this, only for you to just be threatened with accountability of shit you were forced to do through manipulation of the mind. And it's because the people around you were compliant with it. How fucked up is that? You didn't ask for this shit, yet it just came right at you anyway. They said, no, fuck you. This is going to happen. And if you don't, these are the consequences. Whether you were complicit with this or not, don't matter. And that's it. How fair is that? Person going through childhood, and going all the way into an adulthood having to put up with shit like that without even knowing and not finding out until the shit went overt. How fucked up is that? The kid had no say so, because I'm not the only one who's gone through this. There are millions of people who have gone through this. And it's because people don't want to wake the fuck up that this continued. As long as it is still is, and it still is continuing. Man, people have died trying to wake people the hell up. People have gone out of their way to try to wake people the hell up for years. And the problem is, it's the damn stuff that's in the food. It's the stuff that's in the water. It's the stuff that's in your drinks. And it's that crap that they're spraying out in the skies. That's why people don't wake the hell up. Because they keep putting them to sleep. The phones were purposely made. I'm telling you, everything that these phones are doing, they can do great good, but also they do great harm to you too. First off, they help calibrate the weaponized systems that they use. If you don't use a blue light filter, and if you look up Project Bluebeam, the blue hue coming from your phone, not just from a phone, but also LED lights, is what Project Bluebeam is. That's what's allowing this nano to basically be more calibrated. So again, does it make sense to basically defend the system that is dedicated to basically programming people for compliance of their bullshit? I don't think so. No. Even more so, the thing about a TI is that we have to put up, we have to deal with this shit on a daily basis. It's constant frequencies hitting us every day. These people are hitting us with radiation, hitting us with subliminal messaging, gaslighting, all of this stuff that's going on. No one asked for it. No, none of us asked for it. They forced this upon all of us. There's no way nobody would willingly choose to go through something like this. There's no way. Ever. There's no way. People need to get really, adapt a way better mentality of judgment nowadays, because you do not, in times like this, you do not want to be played like a fiddle, because it isn't just them going after us, they're going after everybody with these vaccinations. They want everybody as a damn slave. They do. They want you to be a compliant, a good compliant little slave to do their bidding at a moment's notice. If they tell you to jump, they want you to jump. If they tell you to dive, they want you to dive. If they tell you to off yourself, they want you to off yourself. That's what they want. That's why I've been trying to dedicate myself to basically making, anti-nano buckets for people in the U.S. as best I can, but they already feel threatened by that, so now they're trying to sabotage that. No joke. They're trying to sabotage that. They don't want me sending these buckets out to people to basically drain this junk out of their systems. Why the hell would they? Why would they want... Why... Let me ask you something. Why would they not want something like that to happen? Because, for people to be able to just drain the stuff that they're putting out in the skies and drain it out. And guess what? All we need is enough people to basically say no, we don't want this stuff. It's got to be at least enough people, a majority amount of people within a single state to say we don't want this crap in our state. If you can get something like that to happen, this chemtrail shit ends, dude, because they would have no choice. Because if they still try to do that, then they're on the verge of, that's something they can be sued for. And there is no protection for that. There is none. What also worries me is what Lookout for Charlie mentioned before, and he mentioned that people like on these government, programs like these beneficial programs, it's supposed to give them like I don't know the full ins and outs about this, but it's supposed to like give them, like the full like some sort of acceptance to like do all this experimental crap on you, even without you priorly knowing. It's almost like they have it in like the fine print or something, and you don't read all that. Most people don't. And something, man. At times like this, you shouldn't have to look at the ingredients on what you're eating. It should be you just go to the store and be able to just grab what you're gonna get, and it'll be safe and healthy to eat. That should be it. It shouldn't be people underhandedly being paid off to poison the damn population just because people want this to happen or want that to happen. It shouldn't fucking be like that. For fuck's sake, man, it ain't just adults eating this damn food. There are kids eating this shit too. There are everybody of all ages eating and drinking this stuff. Whether it's milk, orange juice, any of this stuff, you're finding out that they're putting, that milk actually having certain type of hormone stuff in there. And we're finding out a lot about this other stuff, man. Like as far as things are concerned, people are telling you like it's not natural to drink something that's coming from an. Think about it. Just think of this concept. Does it make sense to And I'm being real here. The fact that human females actually produce milk. Females of another species that's an animal produces milk for their young, right? That's a different species. Does it make sense? Does that like where did that? I'm just curious of where that is even came from, but then it starts to make sense because other people started to figure out what this is. It turns out calcium is actually dealing with something, and I'm wondering, does calcium have anything to do with calcification of the pineal gland? That's what I would really like to know because you got calcium in cheese, you got calcium in milk, you got calcium in orange juice. So it's definitely interesting, but the thing is, we can't. I don't believe any of the thing that the freaking Health World Organization is planning or doing. I don't believe a damn thing of what they're saying, and they're either going to give you part of the truth, or just not even tell you what's really going on. There are massive atrocities that are going out that people don't even are not even seeing, and they're not going to tell you what's going on. They're not going to tell you about all the people who basically committed suicide. They're not going to tell you about all the people, and I'm not even talking about just willing suicide. I'm talking about people who technically committed suicide just by wearing an effing mask. That alone within itself is committing suicide, and that's supposed to be a grievance sin. I mean, sure, I went out of my way to basically get one to where I'm not actually suffocating myself for this bullshit. But I knew what it was, and I actually recommended the same thing to other people. Like, if you need to get around that, get yourself a mask that's a wire mesh mask to where you could basically get around that. But like, the thing is, we're not supposed, as speakers of the Most High, we're not supposed to be muzzled at all. We're not, ever. If you're a believer in God or any type of religion, you're not supposed to be muzzled. You're not, because that crap is in representation of a satanic order. And it's supposed to be like a vow of silence of some sort. But you see, I've also learned something that we also need to abandon the labels too. Because you see, the devil himself works in contracts. And a lot of these labels that we accept the meaning of. Problem with this is that this stuff has a hidden meaning that we didn't know about, and by us basically unconditionally accepting these meanings for what we're just being told what they're supposed to mean, it allows that other satanic hidden meaning to go unopposed. So that's why I started basically, changing the meanings of the things of different words that I use and different references that I say. Because I'm gonna be damned if I ever basically make a damn deal with the devil. I'll be damned if I ever will do that. No, I'm not interested in this, any of these Satanist bastards and what they're trying to implement on the people. I'm not interested in that. I never have been. And as far as I know, most, if not everybody, is being manipulated. If you own a phone at all, they're not only tracking and monitoring. If you are using Facebook, they're not only tracking and monitoring. Especially if you use TikTok, and I don't recommend anybody to fuck with that because even the sign itself is sketchy as hell. But if you're using any of these platforms, they're not only tracking, tracing, and basically writing down all these different referencing patterns that basically of everything. They're not just doing this. And this is for everybody, dude. This is a system going after everyone. So what the hell does it just doesn't make any sense to me. Why the hell would anybody side with them out of fear? Look, if they're worshiping some type of demonic entity and these bastards are paying for this to happen, dude, this is a freaking test. This is a test. It's a test to see who was going to be compliant with this demonic system and who is not. For those of us who basically hold on until the very end, we're going to be good. We're going to be perfect. But for those people who sold their souls into the system, I don't know about that, man. We make mistakes in time. We're human, though. We're only human. Of course, people are going to make mistakes in our lifetimes. That's possibilities. That's for everybody. The difference is that we learn from these mistakes. But unfortunately, dealing with the situation as it is, if you're a TI, you can learn from your mistakes all you want, but it doesn't stop these people from basically trying to, first off, upload, since you're laced with nano and implants, right? Most likely, this doesn't stop these bastards from basically trying to upload frequencies to you, downlink frequencies to you, basically any type of trying to connect you to the internet, basically. And you see, that's just it. That is just it. Are we just gonna pretend like MK Ultra didn't happen? Are we just gonna ignore the fact that that actually was a thing? The problem is people think MK Ultra ended. It did not. No, they implemented the. In fact, if anything, the whole thing about MK Ultra was a cover. That's just part of it. That wasn't the whole thing. No, because anything. I don't think the MK Ultra had anything to do with radiation. But then when you start basically watching the unedited version of John F. Kennedy's speech, you start to realize he was talking about radiation. You start to come to the realization he was trying to apologize for that. And that's in the unedited version of his speech. They had him assassinated because he was going to stop all of that. They knew this. That's why they took him out. People who were in positions to put a stop to this crap, maybe not to the people who are pulling the strings, but at least to their underlings to really put a huge fragment in their gear to basically, just to stop the whole damn system of corruption. They assassinated those people. We have been under threat of domestic terrorists for years, man. For years. And the problem, you want to know what the main problem was, and it's always has been? People's compliance, people accepting, just allowing themselves to be consumed by fear, and people just being greedy for money. But at the core of all of this, it's the poisoning of everything. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. I hope everybody's having a wonderful morning, as always, minus the targeting. Stay safe out there and stay strong.